Well, here I am in the Wheatbelt right now. I'm at a spot called Pumphreys Bridge. It's quite a unique little spot, this one. Pumphreys Bridge being this bridge that I'm standing on right now. It was built in 1902, and at some point over its life it has fallen, it's caved in. I couldn't actually find when that was, but it has collapsed right on top of the river. This bridge is over the top of the Hotham River. You remember my last video on the channel, I was up in the dwelling up area and I was talking about how the Murray River had broken its banks, well and truly flooded, and it's tapped into by a couple of rivers from up in this Wheatbelt area, or out the back in this Wheatbelt area. One of the rivers that taps into it is this Hotham River. Runs down through here from sort of the guts of the Wheatbelt, heads down through Boddington and taps in up the back of dwelling up there. So obviously all the rain that we've had in the metro area, Peel area, southwest, Great Southern, and it's also fallen up here in the Wheatbelt. And so this river has well and truly filled up. She's been right full. She's broken her banks. It's receded a lot now. It's still swollen, still a lot of water in her, but it's by no means overflowing now. It has receded a lot. It's receded probably a good few meters. And you've got this camp area here, right on the banks of this river where you can come and camp. So as I said, it is quite a unique area, and obviously this beautiful bridge in the background is one drawing point to the area, but it's not the whole story. This area has a couple of incredible stories, and one that's in particularly quite sad, quite a tragic filled story, and then moving on another 100 odd years from that, quite an incredible story of a phenomenon that's still not really scientifically understood at this point, even in this day and age. So I'm looking forward to getting into that as this video goes on. Absolutely stunning time of the evening. The sun's getting low. It's absolutely beautiful. What a beautiful time of the evening. So tonight I'm going to do a burger, I reckon. Maybe even two. I'm pretty hungry. I've skipped lunch. I've been a bit busy. So I'm going to get a red onion out, cut that up, throw that in the pan, get a couple of patties out, get them ready to go. Oh, this is going to be good. I'm excited. Love me a good burger. Or two. Well, this has all gotten a bit tricky. It's raining. I know, I'm right in the middle of dinner. Damn it. Right in the middle of dinner. I got no room under here because I got a swag there. Well, that was an absolute disaster, but we've gotten there. So I thought I would Just quickly, hang on, let me put my head torch on so we can actually see what's going on here. There it is. Okay, I'll zoom in. There's the finished product we got there in the end. Now allow me to show you all, at least me putting some sauce on. There we go. What have I got? What is it? Pickle naze. There we go, pickle naze. Okay. So you can see me doing something at least. There we go. Beautiful. Let's throw her on. Oi, come back here. I want you. I worked hard. I want that. There we go. I'm not gonna lie. It still came together quite well. What do you reckon? I think so. My God, what a disaster. Rain just ruins everything sometimes. I didn't prepare. I thought I'd be alright, but I wasn't. But no matter how much rain you get, I'm sure you can all agree it's not going to stop a man from getting his food. It's never going to get in the way of a man getting his food. So I'm going to get a plate now. I'm going to throw those bad boys on my plate. And I think it's just stopped. Oh, yay. So at least I can grab my chair and I'm going to go sit in front of that fire and eat my food. Okay, I'm turning the cameras off. I'm done for now. You'll see me later when I've eaten and I can start thinking straight again. So I mentioned earlier William and Catherine Pumphrey, and they were the original settlers out here. They came from England, 1854 it was. They had 4 kids, 3 sons and 1 daughter. When they got here from England, they originally settled in Pinjarra, and then eventually they came out to Pumphreys Bridge, which is what we now know it as. Back then, however, when they first got here, it was known as Hotham Crossing. So they were working pretty hard, as you can imagine, farm life. And right up until when Catherine, William's wife, she ended up having an asthma attack in 1885. She was only 58 years old. After his wife died, William stayed working in the area on the farm till his early 60s before he eventually retired and moved back to Pinjarra and abandoned this area altogether. At that point, when he went back to Pinjarra, he had a daughter, his youngest daughter, so he went there and lived with her in Pinjarra. So by now, it's about 1888, and William's son John has just come back after he's been working away. I think he was droving, something like that. So he's come back and he's got his new wife with him. She's 15 years old and he's 34. So yeah, it was a very different time back then. So they've just come back to Pumphreys Bridge. Later in the same year, John's 15-year-old wife Isabella ended up falling pregnant, but the baby died. 4 years later, she gave birth to another child, and that child also died. So now by 1894, she had given birth to a boy. They had their first son, and his name was John Jr. Thereafter that, a couple of years later, they had a daughter as well. Her name was Frances. Move forward 2 years, it's 1899. Now, a traveller, a passerby in the area, they call him a traveller, that's how the story goes, is coming past the property, and this person sees John and Isabella's children, a 5-year-old boy and a 2-year-old daughter, distressed out on the property. It's a little bit weird, a bit odd. This passerby approaches the children, and it appears that the children are waiting for their mum, quote unquote, to wake up. Now it turns out to be that Isabella had in fact 2 or 3 days prior to the 2 kids being seen by this passerby, she had actually passed away. So in this time that Isabella had passed away, John was off working away, he was droving. He wasn't in the area, so he's come back home and he's found that his wife has passed away, and his 5-year-old boy had been given up to a home, and his 2-year-old daughter had been sent to live with a local neighbour in the area. So he could barely cope, he didn't do so well. He saw out as many years as he could on the farm before he ended up in Pinjarra, and then by age 54 he ended up dying of pneumonia. And it wasn't long after that that his old man William ended up passing away in Pinjarra himself. I think he was in his mid-80s. So John Jr., he ended up going to World War I, served there in World War I, and then he ended up dying quite young, just like his old man, about 56 years old. And their daughter Frances, she ended up living till 1976. She lived the longest out of all of them, apart from her grandfather William, but she never ended up coming back to Pumphreys Bridge. It's a very interesting story, a very interesting tale of a family that has established so much, but it's just littered with absolute tragedy. Beautiful. Oh, beautiful. I'm getting breakfast done pretty early this morning. A bit of onion in here, red onion. A pinch of brown sugar, just to help caramelise it. A couple of pieces of toast, a bit of avocado, a bit of sliced tomato, some cracked pepper. So yesterday I told you about the history of the old Pumphrey family, the original settlers here back in the mid-1800s. Now I also said that there was also a bit of a interesting story or a tale that's a little bit more connected to the land. When a lot of this early settlement happened, a lot of Aboriginals worked for the settlers of the day, and a lot of them as workers. That work also included clearing a lot of the land that you now see as farmland. Now in this particular area, Mayanup, Boddington, a couple of other little local towns or areas in this sort of community, in this particular area, there was a phenomenon that happened for quite a few years. It spanned over 20 years or so from what I'm aware. It's a incredible phenomenon that happened around the 40s, 50s, 60s, where they had literally stones falling from the sky. They would range from little gravel pebble sized stones to anything up to a golf ball, some even melon size. And they were literally falling straight from the sky. Now, there's even reports where the tents that were set up around these areas, and even the houses, the homesteads, they were getting these stones come through into their home or into the tent. There'd be no hole in the ceiling of the homestead. There'd be no hole in the tent. Quite a very interesting story or tale, to say the least. Beautiful. A little bit more for you, my friend. Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. So even to this day, it's still a very unexplained phenomenon, and scientifically it's still not understood. And it seems to only be particular to this certain spot here at Pumphreys Bridge in this local area. So let's go back to 1931. There was a young fella by the name of Mervyn Abraham. He was born here at Pumphreys Bridge under a tree. His family was here, his relatives were all here. A lot of his relatives worked the farms in the local area, and they called this our camp. Our camp in Noongar is Nalamia, and so it's our camp by the river, Balya. Balya means river in Noongar. So they all occupied this area and they were working the local farms. Now from Noongar understanding, Noongar tale, they believe that these spirit stones are in fact a phenomenon that was created by angry spirits or angry passed on relatives that are now gone. They're passed on, and it's them hurling down these stones out of anger that the land is being cleared. Because as we know, Noongars are incredibly connected to the land. So they believe, and Mervyn has been a very strong voice in this as well. There's a documentary made about it in 2009 of this phenomenon in this area, and he's a very significant special local of this area and this particular part of history in this area. Quite a fascinating story, a fascinating part of history as well that is only significant to this particular area, which is exactly why I wanted to come here and see this area, tell the story, because there's a few stories right from early settlement of the original family, William and Catherine, right through a good 100-odd year span there of just incredible tales and incredible history. Very, very interesting spot, and I'm glad I made it out. Well, this is the old school here. It's cool to see it's still standing. Old Jarrah building, corrugated iron roof. Over here behind you, behind the camera, this is where the big oval is. It's full of campers, it's full of caravans, so I'm not going to go over there with the camera. But there's that little shed pavilion that I wanted to get over and put on camera, but I just can't. There's people camping in front of it. It's not going to work out. So it just means you're going to have to come out here and have a look for yourself, because if you can get that little spot there, camp in front of that little pavilion, that'd be pretty cool. Looks like a great old shed. I think that's where I'll leave it for this one. Hasn't been a bad night out. I'm still out for another night on this trip. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to go yet. I have no idea. But I can guarantee that you'll see it on the next one. So until then, till I see you there, stay safe. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Thanks again. Ooroo.